all in all, for this size of battery pack, and I think this is also an evolution of where we are as consumers. We used to think a 300 solid, and now we're saying this is a 300 solid range is sorted. But now we are at that point where we're saying we want a 400 solid.
Yeah.
Right.
Charging, more details in terms of kilowattages and fast charging and all of this.
Correct. So this thing has so home chargers. You have two options: a 7 kilowatt, or 11 kilowatt. The difference between the two in terms of cost, we'll put the prices up here, is about 8,000 rupees. I think the default is go for the 11 kilowatt. That's a very small amount. DC fast charging is 100 kilowatts. And the Creta, when it was launched, they said it has 50 kilowatts and they would unlock 100 kilowatts later.
Okay.
This is already coming with 100 kilowatts unlocked.
Got it.
DC fast charging. So it's, which means 20 to 80 is going to be in whatever, 25, 30 minutes, something like that. I'll put that up. Basically, it is fast charging if you're talking about it in minutes and not in hours. Whereas if you're charging at home, it's going to be 8-9 hours, whatever it is.
Yeah. And if you're intending to buy the Clavis EV, we've warned this setup before and we'll warn you again. Remember that when you're out on the highway and you see a fast charger listed as a, let's call it 120 kilowatt fast charger, that is the total capacity sometimes of the entire station. Which means if you're the only car parked there and charging, you do get full benefit. And your car can take 100 of those kilowatts, or 20 kilowatts is spare. But if there are 4 cars connected, 120 gets split 4 ways and your charging actually slows down quite a bit. Just plan it like this.
It happened recently.
No, I'm just saying in terms of itinerary planning, don't plan saying, okay, so there is a 120 kilowatt charger, so I can charge at max speed. So I will just basically park, take a 25-minute break and I'll get a car at 80%. If you're the only person there, sure, absolutely will work out. But are you going to be the only person there? You can't guarantee it, so have a little bit of latitude.
As we spend more time with cars like this, I think you also have to understand the mindset that you have to be in, because it happened to me the other day. I was charging an EV and there was another vehicle connected to the same charger, and the charging times, the charging speed was much lower. As soon as that car got done, my charging speed went up. And because we were testing, I wanted to get it charged up to 100%. And the time it took to get from 80 to 100 was the same time it took me to get from 10 to 80.
Yeah. So Ather says that for their fast charge network straight away. They say we charge you $1 a minute, right? But $1 a minute actually is the rate up to 80%. From 80%, it still costs you ₹1 a minute. But each minute gives you half the charge into the battery. So effectively, if you were to go from 80 to 100 on the charger, you would spend the same amount of time as you would spend from 0 to 80.
Right. So, and that's the other side of this. This car, while it is easily the best Carens Clavis you can buy today, the question is, can you factor the EV side of it, the charging side of it into your life? If you can, great.
Yeah.
If you can't, then it will continue to be a stumbling block and you will, one of the petrol or diesels will be a better pick for you.
Yeah, and I would not take this too seriously, because in my experience, if you were to be gifted a Kia Carens Clavis EV, for example, it's not like you wouldn't make the effort to figure out how to charge it and how to live with it. It's not impossible for anyone to figure out. What he's asking is, do you want to have this cool factor in your life for which you will have to put in some of this effort? Whereas for a petrol and diesel, maybe not so much cool factor, but much simpler process because you've done this before. But we will all get over that hump if we come to that situation, right? Range anxiety, not the same before you buy your first EV, completely different after you bought your first EV. Charging times and waiting at charging stations feels onerous before you buy your first electric. After you buy an electric and get used to that process, you factor it into how you travel, and then it doesn't seem to bug you like a year later or something. So these are not necessarily permanent deal breakers.
Yeah.
But they can feel like big deal breakers at the start. Just say, I have to commit to this and I will work this out, and you will.
And so if you look at the highway use case scenario, I think if you're purely traveling on the highway, this car is something that you can look at as a 330, 350 kilometer range, which is not insignificant.
No, it's plenty. You'll get tired of sitting in the car for that long, because by Google Maps averages, which are fairly accurate for most highways for average drivers, that's 7 hours in the car.
Yeah. So you can travel with it. What you need to factor in is your charging. And if you're somebody who's traveling regularly and want an EV, this is something you'll have to work with. And if you're in city scenarios, we expect this to be better, which means closer to 400, but that is something we will see when we test the car here. But all in all, for this size of battery pack. And I think this is also an evolution of where we are as consumers. We used to think a 300 solid, and now we're saying this is a 300 solid range is sorted. But now we are at that point where we're saying we want a 400 solid, right? Which is 400, no questions asked. In that regard, they do have a range display, which is quite nice because it gives you 3 levels. One is a minimum, which says no matter what,
you will get this far.
You will get this, which is, let's say, 170 kilometers. And you're like, wow, that's low. But that means, come what may, you'll get 170 kilometers. And then there's the realistic range, which will be 300, something like that. And then it provides a third range. Like I have one image like where I think the range added above that was another 90 kilometers if you switch off the air conditioning. So that's the third level that they provide.
Yeah, that sounds like hedging, man. Come on.
But I think the two primary figures give you a good sense of confidence because you have this minimum which says that if you're driving just hard, that you'll at least cover this. And then there is the realistic range.
Too much hedging.
What would you like?
Just predict range and be reasonably accurate about it and it's fine.
Yeah, and I think they are doing that. This is, I mean, in normal drive scenarios, I think it's working well, the range prediction that they are.
I'm not saying that it's not working well or well. I'm saying this is just too much hedging and too much worrying about range anxiety, which we know. Once you bought your electric, you don't worry about it so much.
Once you spend time with it.
Yeah. So you're basically hedging a thing that is not actually an issue. I'm not sure that this is a good idea. It's like when we started testing our electric scooters and our the action short route that we take is 84 kilometers. The first couple of times we were worried and we took shortcuts, but we sort of found a balancing no matter what electric vehicle is coming in. If I do this on the way there and if I do that on the way there, more or less we'll make it back. And we failed what, 2 times? 300 meters from the office once and 1 kilometer from the office once. If you're going to continue to put fear in their minds by saying, look, your minimum range is 170, and I don't know that this is required.
No, I think it's the other way around actually, because this is giving confidence to people.
No, I don't think so. No. I disagree. I'm saying
because,
this is...
See, you are testing, you are familiar, you're talking...
I'm saying people will get there once they buy the EV. They don't need this unnecessary red warning. They're saying, oh, minimum.
So again, so this is not something that is in your face. If you choose to explore, it is available. So it's not a... Anyways, so I think it's a good tool to set people, give them some confidence when they're starting off. Okay, with that done, what else is there to talk about with this? The obvious comparisons that you can make with, let's say, the Creta or on the other.
No, let's compare it to the other electric MPVs, please.
Right, so there is one other MPV, which is the BYD E-MAX 7, right? E-MAX 7 is not as good as 7-seater. It's actually a bigger car, but it's not as good as 7-seater. But what the BYD E-MAX has is a larger battery. Even their lower spec variant has a larger battery, and there's a higher spec which has an even bigger battery. So the range that the E-MAX 7 can offer you is greater.
Right.
But the E-MAX 7 is not going to be as good in the second row or in the third row, although the E-MAX 7 does get captain seats.
Got it.
Right? So, yeah, that's...
High Cross?
High Cross.
You said on Ask Motoring that it is the car that took you is like the ideal one to travel with your family or whatever, right?
100%.
So High Cross.
Yeah. High Cross is even bigger. So space and...
More expensive also, obviously.
Yeah, that's 30. I mean, that'll be 32 something lakhs.
If you can buy
30. I think now it's okay. So that is the variant that is the vehicle that is even larger, even better for travel. And of course, being a strong hybrid, you get a lot of economies because of that. But obviously, the running costs are not going to be as low as this. But the thoughtlessness with which you can travel in it is going to be...
But you will not get to see the beautiful sights of charging stations in the process, which I think you're totally missing out on if you have a High Cross.
Hello. If you enjoyed this clip, which means you're into good conversations, and that's what we're all about. It's really hard packing in the essence of an idea into a 60-second clip. This 3-minute, 5-minute video would have given you a sense of that. And you can enjoy this entire conversation in its full glory on the MotorInc channel. So why don't you head out over there and subscribe to that? And you could subscribe to this channel as well if you enjoyed it.